We're good? Cool. Hey, it's my first talk, so take it easy on me. Thanks. Just had to preface that. So is anyone new to Selenium? Any, pros? You hush. It's nice to see everyone tonight. Thanks for coming out. Who am I and why am I here? So tonight is more for me. It's more of a professional development exercise. Hope to be an inspiration if you're interested in Selenium. Get out there and try it. I'm going to try to give you the tools tonight to do that. I just kind of want to summarize and share what I've learned over the last year. I've been doing this for about a year and a half-ish. So, like I said, still very much a rookie. But I can't say no to Matt and Stephanie. They asked me to be here, so here I am. A little bit about me. I am a career changer. I was a chemist in QA before I went to development QA. So it was some similarities, just had to learn a different field. So I'm really enjoying it. I came from Launch Code and Savvy Coders. So the journey has been kind of odd, but here I am and I'm loving it. If you don't know what Selenium is, it's basically an open source project of tools and libraries used to automate browsers. It's good for multiple browsers across multiple operating systems. Selenium.dev is the source for all things Selenium. It's primarily used for testing, but it can be used on any application in a web browser. So if you have a task you might want to automate, you could do it with Selenium. But I would say there's one caveat. It should be something that is okay to fail. You wouldn't want to automate a process and have it fail in the middle of it, and then it'll throw everything off, or be really particular about what you want to do with it. Just remember to use it on a task, not a process. So Selenium comes in 3 flavors right now. They have an IDE, which is an environment tool for Chrome and Firefox, Firefox add-on and a Chrome extension. And then there's Webdriver, which is the libraries and tools section. And then there's Selenium Grid, which is a server that allows tests to use web browser instances running on remote machines. I am going to bore you with a little bit of information. In 2004, Selenium Remote Control was developed. And then in 2007, Selenium Remote Control was merged with a tool called Webdriver to become Selenium Webdriver. So there you go. That's how Selenium Webdriver was born. And then in 2008, they came up with Selenium Grid. But the fun fact about Selenium is that it was made in response to the Mercury Interactive's QTP tool. And the joke was that Selenium it's an old wives' tale that Selenium is the antidote to mercury poisoning. So hence the Mad Hatter reference. And that's for you, Miriam. You got me? Okay. Before we get to Webdriver, I want to talk about IDE a little bit. So it's an in-browser tool available for Firefox and Chrome. There's no prior coding experience needed. It's good for teaching concepts. Like I can hand it off to anybody and help them to learn about commands, locators, assertions, and to let them get a general idea of what automation looks like and does. The best part about it is it has a record and playback feature that creates tests. I wouldn't rely on it to create tests. It's probably more of a prototyping tool or a demonstration tool or a learning tool. So if you're new to Selenium, you might want to try it first, and then if you want to start coding Selenium, you could try Webdriver. If anyone wants to see a demo, I'm happy to do it. So let me take a drink. Hold on. Webdriver will control the browser by directly communicating with it. It supports Java, Python, Ruby, C#, JavaScript. Bindings for other languages exist through third-party resources. So if you really want something else, it might be out there. Let's see. The advantages of Selenium: it's open source, so it's low cost, and that's pretty good, especially if you're looking to replace a tool like UFT and not maintain licensing. Like I said before, multiple languages, multiple browsers on multiple operating systems. It's pretty good range. So you can take a project you built on Windows and you can run it on a Mac. Here is a giant overview of how it works. Like I said before, you can use the language you're comfortable with. And then there's a JSON wire protocol that acts as an API, which facilitates transfer of data between the client and the server. The browser drivers are what used for interacting with the browsers and gives the browser its automation script instructions. So essentially, the drivers translate your code calls into executable actions within the browser. It used to be that drivers were packaged with the browser. Now, for the sake of the file size, they come separately. And of course, each browser has its own specific browser driver. So like Chrome driver, Gecko driver for Firefox, Safari driver for Safari, Edge driver for Edge, et cetera, et cetera. And also, if you want to run headless, there's HTML unit driver. So kind of a summary of what happens when you click run in your IDE. Every statement in your script is converted to a URL via the JSON wire protocol over HTTP. And then the URLs are passed to the browser's drivers. And the client library converts the statements of the script to JSON format and then communicates to the browser driver. Every browser driver uses an HTTP server to receive requests. The URL reaches the browser driver, and then the browser driver passes that request to the real browser over the HTTP, then the commands in your Selenium script will be executed on the browser. Of course, it's if a post, then there'll be an action on the browser, and if there's a GET, then the corresponding request or response we generated at the browser end, and it'll be sent back to the browser driver, and the browser driver over the wire protocol, and they'll send it to your UI. Any questions over that? Because that's kind of a mess.
If I'm not mistaken, the browser manufacturers actually maintain each individual browser, right? Or at least the majority of them?
Yes, I hadn't got to say that yet, but yes. Thank you for stealing my thunder, Matt. Of course, yeah. There are some disadvantages to using Selenium. It's open source. You're not going to have tech support. If you have a problem, you can't go crying to the maker. It's for web applications only. You can't use it on desktop applications. It does take a great amount of time to write a test, or write tests to cover an entire application. It takes a lot of time, especially if you want to write it correctly. It does rely on a lot of plugins and tools. If you want to use some sort of test framework, you need test in G or JUnit, especially if you want reporting. There's no built-in test reporting, so you'll have to use third-party for that. And there's no built-in test manager, so there's nothing like ALM or anything that's going to tell you your test status or give you a test plan. So I'm going to show you how to set up a basic Selenium project. What you'll need is a Java IDE of your choice, and I'm going to do a Maven one. Maybe. Cool. Can everyone see? Does it need to be bigger? Bigger? Good? Shh. No hecklers. no hecklers. That's really tiny over there. So in the appropriate IDE of your choice, let's see. We're gonna create a new Maven project. And it's gonna be a simple project. I'm in the habit of using org.melissa for everything, so whatever. Meow. So now we have our basic Maven project called Meow. What else do I want to do? Let's pick a JRE. Ooh, don't want to open that. I'm going to use 8 for simplicity. And I'm going to steal the dependencies from a different project. So here I'm adding Google Guava, and then 28.2 with the JRE version. Notice not the Android version. Selenium 3.6, and I'm going to sneak test in G in there, but I don't really need it yet. Cool. And then I'm going to Maven clean and Maven install. Success! And one last thing we have to do is add drivers to our project. And I'm just going to steal them from this one. Great. So the drivers I'm using, I have one for Chrome and one for Firefox, and we can see both of those later. But right now, I think I'm just going to work with Chrome, because Chrome is awesome. So let's write a script. So we're going to have a new class. First test. And for simple script, we'll tell it to generate the public static void main. Ooh, it's starting to look like something. There's basic things you need to do just to get Selenium going. First thing we need to do is set the path to Chrome driver. So system set property. And I'm going to steal the path over here. So that's done. Next, we want to instantiate a new Chrome driver. We'll have to import Webdriver from Selenium to do that. And then basically you pick where you want to go using the command driver.git, and you stick a URL in there. I've been working with this automation practice site because it has a lot of good elements on there to just play with. So we'll go there. And we always have to tell it to quit. And that should close the active window. If you do driver.close, I think it closes all of them that you've opened, but for now we'll just use driver.quit. So what this should do, we need to import Chrome driver as well. It's yelling at me. What this should do is just basically open up Chrome and then close it. So let's try it. We'll run it as a Java application. Okay, save it, sure thing. Look at that. Hey, success. Thank you, appreciate it. So now that we have this lovely script that behaves and does something, I'm controlling a browser, it's pretty amazing. I feel very empowered, can conquer the world. We should probably actually write a test. So let me bring up this automation website. What do you think's a good thing to do? I think maybe checking this placeholder, just to make sure it says search. I'm gonna do that. So let me see, let's inspect. Cool. Let's stick search in a variable. And then what we need to do is kind of think about how to name the actual placeholder. Like, what is the driver going in there and looking for? So we're going to do driver dot find element by. And so a by is a locator, which tells us what to go into the HTML and look for. Ooh, we have an ID. It's always better to use an ID. Assuming they're unique. I will get to that. I will get to that, trust me. Stop stealing, you thief. By ID. We're going to paste the ID in there. Doop. And let's give this guy, let's make him a string, a sting. String actual placeholder. So what's happening here? What is happening? What did I do? We're actually going to get the attribute. Oops. Placeholder. That makes it a string. It was mad. As a simple test, you can write an if-else statement. Oops. Am I? I am, thank you. I wish everyone could watch over me all the time. All right, so we have a basic test. It's not pretty, but it should accomplish what we want it to do. We're going to see if the actual placeholder in that search element displays search. And we're going to print yay if it does and nope if it doesn't. So let's try it out. It goes really fast. And also, yay, we did it. If I could slow it down, I would. So that is every Selenium tutorial online ever. Your path to the Chrome driver, instantiate the driver, direct the driver to your URL, and run some sort of test, and then quit it. It's pretty easy, but there's a downside to this. If you do it this way, it gets pretty yucky. I will go back to my presentation. Maybe. Presenter view. So as you can see, WebDriver is easy. Isn't hard. You can find elements and then perform tasks on them. But it does get messy pretty quickly. Over time, your project will grow and maintenance become a nightmare, especially if you have everything in one long file. If that was one big test, that would be pretty terrible. When you have multiple scripts using the same element, you have to go and change the element everywhere it's referenced, so that may take a lot of time, and it's also where you can introduce errors that way. So it's best to maintain it all in one spot, which is why we have the page object model. Yay! Yay! So don't do it that way. The tutorials online they're all wrong, and don't learn from that. So look into the page object model. What it does is it breaks the site down into smaller, better handled sections. So each page is a class containing locators and methods. So basically each web page in your application would be its own class, or each component, whatever you want to break down, would be its own class. So each page or component would each have its own test class. And then, like I said, components can be abstracted out into pages. So this makes it easier to write tests. You can find what you need. If you need to navigate to XYZ page, you would create an instance of that page and use it in your test, and you'll be able to call all the methods from there and all the page objects. This is also better so that developers can focus more on writing tests instead of devoting time to building minor details on the page. Maintaining the test objects and their methods is just a good idea to get all that built and out of the way, and you don't have to do it again unless something changes. Otherwise, you'll have to maintain it in 50 places. It's not fun. Whoa. Page object model. Yeah, as I said, abstractions with reusable code are easy to maintain. So you can modify code in one place when a locator changes. So what I will do now is show you a page object model project that I made for FullStackers, just for you guys. I did model it off of the automation practice page I've been working with. So, in source main Java, let me close all this stuff. Close unrelated projects. Go away. Source main Java is where we will hold all of our page object classes. So each web page would have its own page object. And we also keep what I call utilities in there, and I think it's universally known as utilities. That's how I found it in other places. I'm sorry, you probably can't see that very well. But this is a class named driver. So what we do with class driver, we can customize and build our own driver, which is, I think that's a lot better than using what you get right out of the box. Let's see. Where should I start? Where should I start with this? Let me work backwards. Start utilities. This is where we call our driver and put all the options in. We're calling driver, build driver method, set browser, get browser, set the URL, and then we're going to start the driver. Properties fetcher. I have a properties file. Let's see. Where you can set your browser and your host name without doing it in the actual production code. So Firefox is FF. If you wanted to use Chrome, you would use CH. You can set it to whatever you want. And so if you go back to the driver class, here's where it's fetching the driver. If it's Firefox, get the Firefox driver. It's Chrome, get Chrome driver. So in Chrome driver method, we're going to return a new Chrome driver with optional options in it. You can set your binary. You can tell it's headless. I think Chrome has an incognito mode. Whatever you want to do to it, if that suits your purpose, go right ahead. Firefox does the same thing. So you just need to set the path to your Firefox driver, and it's good. Let's go back to our start driver, start utilities. So we've set the browser. It's going to also set the URL. It's going to read the URL from the WebDriver properties. And then it's basically going to build the driver. Wrong thing.
How does this relate to the page object model?
In the first demo that I did, your driver was called all in one page and quit. If you separate it out, it can be called from anywhere. Does that make sense? Yeah?
It'll become more clear when you do the test.
Yes, yeah, so page object model requires you to organize things a little differently. So that's what we're doing. We're also, when we start the driver, we're going to maximize it so we can see everything that's on the page. What else does this do? Pretty much it.
You get this out of the box and you just customize it and configure it.
Yeah. So yeah, Chrome driver, it's customizable. You just pass the Chrome options into it, and the same thing with Firefox.
So really, this is a way to get going to work with one driver.
Yes. Very good. Yeah, so this is basically, it's a good setup if you want to be able to have the option to run multiple browsers. You can even sneak IE and Edge in there, run it headless with HTML unit driver, but this is where you would set up and customize all your drivers that you wanted to use. So let's look at what a page looks like. Let's go to the home page. So we have, at the top, you define all of your locators. And then below it would be all the methods you use with those locators. So the page class would hold everything you use to interact with the page. You don't want to do that from the test class. So here we have click on categories, get text from categories, click on t-shirts, get text from the header. This page utilities is just generic functions. Click on categories. No, that's not. I thought I was next page. Next class, come on, page utilities. So this was a class that you build to hold all generic methods. Click on elements, get the text of the element, wait for the element to display, wait for the list, scroll into focus. And if you pass these in when you build a page, you're able to call them from the page, like I do here. So a new home page would pass in utilities, and you're able to call the utilities. Everyone okay with this? Yep.
Why do you use ID versus class name versus XPath?
Generally, IDs are preferred. If it doesn't have an ID, you can try a class name. XPath is the least favored because they're most brittle of all three of those. They change, they're subject, especially if a dynamic website, things are going to change, so you probably don't want to rely on XPaths. You will get really good at writing XPaths from scratch if you continue down your path of Selenium. Does that answer your question, Josh? Thank you. He's my plant, by the way. He's not really. Let's look at a test. So now that we have what a page should look like, I have written a couple of tests. So in the test, I've incorporated the test in G framework. It's up to you if you like test in G or JUnit. That has nothing to do with Selenium, but I use test in G. It does require a framework, so you will need to use it, or else you'll be using lots of if-else statements, and your project will look like that first script I ran, and it'll be kind of ugly. So test in G provides us with a nice before class. So in the before class, we're going to start the driver and make sure we have a new home page with those page utility methods in there. And then an after class, which actually quits the driver. And what I did was I wrote a test to go get the cart contents and make sure they said empty. So if you go to the home page and look at get cart contents, what it's doing is it's calling the wait for display method from page utilities and looking for the XPath, which is a really ugly XPath, I know. There was no ID on it, so I had to get creative. I didn't have time. Shh. But we're going to get the text from that XPath. So let's run that. We're going to run that as a test in G test. Oh, look, it passed. Cool. Sorry, it goes really fast. But I've also made a page object for the dresses page. If you want to see, if you have more than one page to automate, you can see how we do this. Here is the page. So it's the same deal. We have all the methods and the locators inside the page. And then for a test, same thing. We have a before class, before method this time, because before the method, we're going to make sure we're on the dresses page. It's important to test dresses page when you're on the dresses page. So then we can look at the size of the list of dresses. So like a list item, unordered list, some list items, and then there's 3. So we can test that. And I'm sorry that I didn't get this one to work because I couldn't get the scrolling to work. So we're gonna ignore it. Thanks. So what we're gonna look for, we're gonna come to the home page. We're gonna click on dresses. And we're looking for these 3 items over here. You will get very good at developer tools and tracking down inspect. So it's a list item. We're going to look for this list item, and we're going to look for this one. So the total should be 3. So if we run this, we've set the assert. We're saying assert that the dress list size, get dress list, and then size is 3. If we're going to look at get dress list, oops. We're just streaming and mapping the elements and getting the text and putting it in a list. And I did use a CSS selector there. If I wanted to do that, really, you shouldn't have it in one of your methods. It should be at the top, because if you use that method more than once, it's kind of makes it error prone. If you, even the slightest little space or something can mess it up. So that should be actually up here as a variable. So good going, Melissa. So let's test the dress page. Should open up in Chrome, maximize, navigate to dresses, and it found it really fast. I'm sorry, I wish it was slower. So does everyone understand page object model? Any questions? Thumbs up? Okay, question.
For the page object model, you're still creating everything manually, correct? Because you're using objects to kind of extend different pages.
Yeah.
Actions you can do, right?
Yes, I would say so, yeah. So it's a very object-oriented way of doing this. So. Any more questions on page object model? It could be whatever size you wanted. If it starts that big, I'd be worried. And you might want to break down your page a little more into different components. Yeah. Any more questions? No? All right. So last you'll see the code. Back to the PowerPoint as a warning. So, where is my presenter? My big takeaway over the last year is that successful implementations of Selenium require you to be creative and keep reusability in mind. That's it in a nutshell. Like I know it's a nightmare to maintain personally from using it every day and writing tests and making sure they pass. And if you have a failure, oh no, is it the test or is it an actual defect? We don't know. So you really have to spend some time in there getting to know your project and babying it. Other things you might want to know, when you use unique identifiers to make it easier for those who write Selenium. So if you're doing front end, unique identifiers are QA people's best friend. Use realistic method names. So if I'm going into a page and I'm looking for something that clicks on something, don't call it something that doesn't have click in it. Like, make sure the method describes what it's actually doing, especially if the person writing the test didn't write the page object, didn't write the locators, didn't write the methods that interact with the page. It's easy to get lost in there, so name it something good. Like I said, you'll be very adept at building XPaths. Dev tools and stack trace will be your best friends. Things to keep in mind when you're writing Selenium scripts. A lot of Selenium is waiting and timing issues. Angular applications tend to have a spinner that never goes away. You'll be waiting for elements to be clickable. You'll be waiting for elements to be present. You'll be waiting them to be invisible. Waiting for things to go away. You'll be waiting for the page to display. It's a lot of waiting. And I think I had a wait. If you want to look at the code, there's actually a WebDriver wait that I built. Here it's in page utilities. Wait. Wait for element to display. So you're going to wait. You're going to have a new WebDriver wait, new instance, and then you'll wait until visibility of element located. What else can you do? Oh, it's so tiny. Wait until alert is present. Wait until attribute contains. Wait till element selection state to be. Wait for invisibility of element. So it's fun. It's a lot of waiting. But most often it's visibility, invisibility, easy things.
Do you recommend just using wait 5 seconds?
What about my wait?
Do you recommend using wait and with time?
It's application specific, really. Just don't use, listen to Josh, whatever Josh is saying. Don't do sleeps.
Wait 5 seconds and then run the rest of your test.
What? I can't hear you.
He's asking if it's a good idea to just do like almost like a thread sleep for 10 seconds before then we can.
Oh, no, don't use thread sleeps. Yeah, that's bad. Okay, yeah. Set a set amount of time before you move on, before it throws some sort of some junk error. Let me go back.
In other libraries, it's Selenium. In other languages, there's just a wait. You give it that amount of time to wait, and that's all it does.
That's all it does. Yeah. No thread sleeps. Don't do that. They have it for Selenium, but it's not a good thing. We'll move on since that's most of what I wanted to talk about. But there's a lot of things we didn't cover. But I've given you the tools to go out and get started with it. Selenium has the capability to do screenshots. So if something fails, you can take a quick snapshot and save it somewhere. You can download files, read Excel documents. I think Apache lets you parse PDFs. You can do headless testing, which, if you're not familiar with headless testing, that's without seeing the GUI in front of you. It's all done behind the scenes.
So, what do you mean Apache?
Yeah, there's Apache PDF box, something or other. I've never used it, but I know it exists. It's like I've never used Sauce Labs. Sauce Labs is the software that lets you run Selenium on an EC2 instance. So if you're into Amazon, AWS stuff, you can do that. You want to use a different database when you're running tests in parallel. If anyone wants to see Selenium IDE, I can do that really quickly. We didn't see a test report. Oh no, let me go back. Test in G will yell at you and tell you how bad or good you were. Let's do this. Let's uncomment this. So we have a failure. And then I'll run this. It waited 5 seconds. Nothing happened. I'll show you what a report looks like. I'm going to refresh this. Test output. I hope you're not red-green colorblind. There you go. Red's bad, green's good. And this is the emailable report. It also gives an HTML report. It gives kind of a summary of what you did. Yeah. I didn't talk about running, or the bells and whistles of test in G, because that's a test in G talk. I wish I could, but I don't want to.
So you ever heard of anybody verifying code layout or page layout or anything?
Page layout.
Like if a button's supposed to be so far over or?
No, I've only encountered those kind of things manually. I don't know if you can automate that. Yeah. You can. Josh says you can.
I've seen it done where they take the perfect screenshot they want, then they do a screen capture and they compare the two if they don't match. If there's any anomaly, it's not great. Like you said, don't do it. Huh? Yes.
Sauce Labs offered a tool. It's called actually Aptly Tools. They have a thing called eyes, which is almost like you run it once, and it's like, oh, here is the good copy, and then now to the end of time we'll compare to this guy. And you can set up like degrees of pixel differences before he fails it and stuff like that. It's gross, it's ugly. Don't do it.
A tool called MTest, which is I think built on top of Selenium and does a lot of the same things. But I think it's screenshot fix, which is
Whoa,
I
no.
mean, if that kid could get it down to a very specific, like, is this image correct or not? Like, problematic if you want many or page something.
It would be very brittle, to say the least.
You
Yeah.
could use it for like when you're testing, say like on this one deletion it needs to collapse and look like this, or on this one it needs to look like this. You could, that's where you use it. But don't just image compare everything.
Any more questions?
Do you have to, this is maybe, you said you've been doing this for like a year,
Yeah.
QAs. Do you have to do sprint planning for the QA portion?
We operate as one team, so our QA people are combined with the developers. So yeah, we do sprint planning.
Do you have any performance monitoring with it?
No.
Would it be doable?
Is it doable? Not that I'm aware of. No.
Quick research.
Yeah, okay, Josh says yes.
But that's limited in the browser. They wouldn't be able to on everything. All exposed to a bunch of that stuff. And you know, you see it in most data, if you look back from Chrome, but not necessarily in IE11.
You could, so there's a tool, she talked briefly about a tool called Selenium Grid, and that's just like a giant node network of multiple VMs that can run browsers. And so you can just simply set it like with SNG, like say, okay, I want to run 10 cases in parallel. And so you can use it for load balance, and you still have to use like another system like Appdynamic like that to monitor your infrastructure to see that for load testing. But if you're talking about just like the browser, like how well this computer can process this screen, I wouldn't suggest using Selenium for that. But you could automate the process of opening the browser. You could like set a timer like, okay, page is ready. How long before like X response came in? You can monitor like AJAX calls within JavaScript within inside of Java. You can do that, but is it valuable? Like, do you have a performance issue that you need to automate that test? Because given one day, it could be fine, but the next day, it's bad.
So there you go.
Yeah, it could.
Anything else? I know it's very generic, basic overview, but
I'm just curious to see what the IDE looks like.
yeah, you are. I can show you really quick. Huh?
I'll jump in real quick.
Okay.
She's using Selenium as a part of Java. Selenium isn't written in Java, so it's convenient because she just pulls in the objects and you're all done. If you're not using Java, such as Ruby or PHP, me and Mark have done significant Selenium development using PHP. There's a Java server you run within your framework interacts with the server. It is the WebDriver. So she's pulling in an object that instantiates that server for, just inside of Java. But if you're doing something outside of Java in another language that you have to fire up this Java jar command that will do what she's doing when she instantiates that Selenium server in her code. And then everything else works the same. But it is a difference. So if you're not using Java, you have to find the Selenium server for Windows or Mac or something, and then fire it up before you run the test. Am I representing that correctly? Okay, thank you.
Ah, low battery. I have some time to do the IDE demo. He has to see it. Should be fun. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. So let's record a new test in a new project. Project name, demo, sure. Where do you want to automate? What do you want to work with? We can do anything in the world. Google. What is, jeez.
I'm surprised nobody's written software to harvest that whole page and just blow out a bunch of images.
Yeah.
That's your next,
Is it that or, gosh darn it. Yep. Thanks. Cool. Tell it to start recording. You're there. And it lets you know the Selenium IDE is recording. So what do you want to Google? Dogs. Of course, dog pictures. Dogs win. Dogs pictures with dog pictures cartoon. It's recording everything I'm doing. Dog pictures cartoon. As long as you stay within Google, you're fine.
you just replay this like a macro.
Images. Pretty dogs. Cool. So I think that's probably a good amount of data. So we're going to tell it to stop. Provide a name for your new test. Google dog test, sure. Okay. Look what it did. So we have, everyone see that? I don't know if I can make it bigger or not. Oh, yeah, we can. We opened our URL. It's always going to maximize the window for you. We typed dog pictures into the target. We clicked on this selector. Then we clicked on this selector. And then we clicked on this target. Good thing is it does grab a few different options for you. So if you built a test that kind of is wonky and not reliable, you can try different paths, different IDs, whatever. And then you can, you can use this for prototyping, but you can export the tests, but I'm not really familiar with how you would do that. But it's good for seeing, okay, I'm gonna click on this thing, I'm gonna do this. It's good for people who are new to it, just kind of to see what happens behind the scenes in automation.
So
If I hit the play, so yeah, if I run this test, it's gonna do exactly what I did. Dog pictures, not touching it. Maybe it's gonna fail because I scrolled down with my mouse. I think it's failing. Yep. It is trying to find, oh, warning, it died. So it did open, okay, set the window size, type okay, and then it's trying to find this target and it couldn't find it, so.
Can you add a step in there?
Yes, so you can. If you click on it, you click up here, and then you can add a step this way. You can insert new command, delete something that you put in there by accident. You can clear all the commands, record from here, play to this point. If you just kind of want to set a breakpoint in there. So. Yeah, it failed here, which is this looks like a selector for something I didn't do. That is not what I want. I guess it quit on its own. We can watch it again. Let's find out.
I don't think it ever changed pages.
Yeah, I don't think it ever did anything.
You press in and out, it's easy.
Then I just ruined it. I ruined it.
I want to compliment you on your slides.
Thank you.
Preparation and having the courage to do my demo in person.
Thank you, sir. I think for my first one, it went pretty well. So, any more questions?
This ID, is it configurable or does it have the capability to do hover and mouse tracking?
Ooh, yes, good question. Yeah,
Scary stuff.
yes. Let's stop those. Stop. So if we're gonna, let's say we're gonna build a new, insert new command. Oops. You can do all kinds of things. Assert not selected. Do any kinds of asserts. Choose OK in next confirmation. Double click, drag and drop, edit it. I don't know what half of this stuff is for. Why you would need a for each and if statement. Mouse over. Yeah. Run it, select, store attribute. Yeah, so there's lots of things you can do that we did not touch. So, look, wait for element to be, all those pretty waits. Wait for element not present, wait for element not visible, lots of waiting.
Do you have any need for something like previously did there is this initiative adding it up, switching over to a free product called Catalan.
Mm-hmm.
It's KATALN. That's what we use something like this. I also recommend checking that out.
Leave page. I also have Catalan here. I think it's a little more, geez, I haven't used it in a long time. Not really familiar with it, but I do have it. But I think it's the same concept.
Yeah, it's basically exactly the same.
Yeah,
concept.
yeah.
This one you can't export the text.
Gotcha. Cool. Anything else, guys?
Just a piece of trivia. I got nosy. Anybody familiar with Electron, right? It's built on HTML and CSS. There's a WebDriver for Electron apps.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you.
So
Very cool. My battery is now at 6%, so that means I'm done. Thanks, guys.